Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone's fantastic. Today we're going to talk about the weaponization of language. I've been meaning to discuss this for a while, but I kind of had to sit down with myself and kind of type it all out and lay it out. So I will be glancing at my computer because I'm not a genius and I don't have photographic memory and I can't regurgitate all this stuff off the top of my head. So just bear with me, okay? As you may or may not know, I recently joined TikTok. I have fought it with tooth and nail not to join that app, but I figured, who cares? I'm already being spied on by the American version, so I might as well do the China version too. But let me tell you, it was the best thing I've ever done because I have so much growth across all platforms, and I'm so excited about that. And I'm so happy that you guys are subscribing and following my socials. And so I wanted to thank you. And as you may have seen, I have been clipping up old videos from my research on Tavistock Institute and the Committee of 300 and all these power structures and whatnot, which has gotten great feedback as well because the information is pretty insane. And it's also very hopeful for me to see that a lot of people are aware of these agendas and these institutions and whatnot. So I'm not so alone in this after all. I also clipped up reels from the Stupid Things video that I made, which for me was a more comedic relief than anything. It's not really the type of content that I usually put out. But as the adage goes, throw it on the wall and see what sticks. Now, I found that video to be very funny. I know I used a lot of colorful language, but it was fun, I enjoyed it, and I got a lot of good clips out of it. That brings me to today's topic, which is language and how it is being used to manipulate and control society. My mother always told me, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt me. Now, fast forward 25 years later, and words are now being weaponized against us. I stated in my Stupid Things video that I think changing the term from master suite to primary room is stupid. Someone commented, "Why do you care so much? It's a step in the right direction." Well, for the obvious reason I find it stupid is because it's more fake activism and more fake virtue signaling, like most efforts today. It also perpetuates the victim narrative, which creates an even more weak, fragile, and sensitive society, which feeds right into the hands of our controllers. A weak, docile society is one that is easily manipulated and dependent on the system. But it's much deeper than that. We are seeing the internet being completely whitewashed of all historical and pertinent information. People across all platforms, conservatives, liberals, are being censored and deplatformed for simply sharing opinions, research, genuine discourse that any free society should be able to participate in. I think it's safe to say the United States is no longer a country that supports free speech. What I've discovered over the last few days is the astonishing amount of people who are oblivious to this. Someone commented on one of my videos, well, one Google search and it says X, Y, and Z is a conspiracy theorist Nazi or something like that. And then another commenter said, I typed it into ChatGTP and it says that that's not true. ChatGTP also says it's not okay to be white. They celebrate Biden, but they don't celebrate Trump. So therefore, there's a clear bias with ChatGTP, Google, and other forms of tech today. Therefore, these instruments can't be trusted. This just shows to me how lazy and programmed a certain segment of the population has become, and that's terrifying. I understand it's a hard pill to swallow, coming to terms with the fact that pretty much everything we've been told is a lie, used to manipulate and control us. Trust me, I've been there. I cried for days when I had my so-called awakening. It's scary, and a lot of people can't handle that type of revelation. So they'll defend this system to the day they die, which is also pretty scary. Also, a quick side note, buy all the books you possibly can right now, especially old books. These books will be worth their weight in gold at some point very soon. This is where you find real information. Forget the internet. it's really, at this point, it's really not a useful tool. It takes a lot of skill and savvy to find information. I mean, I think I mentioned in another video to do archive.com. It's not archive, archive.org or something like that. Anyway, so yeah, get books, physical books. And might I add, a lot of people online call me a right-wing conservative or liberal sympathizer. The list goes on. Individuals blaming Republicans and Democrats or whatever, or Trump's going to save us, etc., etc. But with all due respect, if you share this sentiment, whether you're left or right, you are exactly where they want you to be. Fighting amongst each other, thinking your team is the right team. Two wings, same bird. Every sitting president is controlled to some extent, even Trump. While I do think he is and was a roadblock to the globalist one world government wet dream, I still believe he is playing his role to some degree. Unpopular opinion, I know. Now, is there a solid argument to be had that when he was president, this country was doing pretty good? Yes, I will give that to you. I think I've kind of made it very clear in my content that I have zero affiliation with either political party, nor do I trust either political party. My interests really lie in real power structures, such as the Club of Rome, the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, NATO, United Nations, etc. I don't subscribe to the two-party illusion. If you must know, I do respect Thomas Massie. I respect Ron and Rand Paul. I respect Ron Johnson for the sole purpose that they try to expose the COVID lies, and Federal Reserve. So that I can get behind. But other than that, I don't like to waste my time or energy on politics. Moving on. So do you guys remember not that long ago, Stanford came out with this harmful language list. Thankfully, it was met with heavy backlash, thank God. But it was an initiative to welcome inclusiveness for everyone. Some examples of this were, instead of saying she, they recommend using the person's name or they. Instead of you guys, they recommend folks or people or everyone. And instead of American, U.S. citizen. Instead of OCD, detail-oriented. Now, thank God, a lot of people clapped back at this insanity because that's exactly what it was, insanity. We aren't as far gone as I thought. But to me, it just generally shows how entitled and out of touch some people are. People actually use their precious time and energy to sit around a table to comb through language that's been used for hundreds of years and arbitrarily pick out what they found offensive and what they didn't. A majority of Americans, Black, white, Asian, Hispanics, don't have the luxury or the time to sit around and find words to be offended by, okay? But this brings me into a deeper dive into this phenomenon of social control and social engineering that we're currently witnessing today. Something Stanford Institute know all too well. The Stanford Research Institute, or SRI, is considered the jewel in Tavistock's crown in its role of the United States. And as you may know from my other videos, the Tavistock Institute is the world center for mass brainwashing and social control since its humble beginnings at the Wellington House in 1913. The Tavistock Institute has its tentacles embedded in every American institution, using their power to influence the way Americans think, act, and feel. If you've seen my other videos, you know all this already. The Stanford Research Institute was founded in 1946, immediately after World War II. It was presided over by Charles A. Anderson, with emphasis on mind control research and future sciences. Now, good luck Googling that one. Wikipedia states the following. SRI International is an American nonprofit scientific research institute and organization headquartered in Menlo Park, California. The trustees of Stanford University established SRI in 1946 as a center of innovation to support economic development in the region. The organization was founded as the Stanford Research Institute. SRI formally separated from Stanford University in 1970 and became known as SRI International in 1977. SRI performs client-sponsored research and development for government agencies, commercials, businesses, and private foundations. It also licenses technologies, forms strategic partnerships, sells products, and creates spin-off companies. SRI's headquarters are located near the Stanford University campus. Seems harmless, right? So some of Stanford's major clients, which you will not find this on Google, some of Stanford's major clients and contracts were at first centered around the defense establishment, but as Stanford grew, so did the diversity of its services, such as application of behavioral sciences to research management, Office of Science and Technology, SRI Business Intelligence Program, U.S. Department of Defense Office of Aerospace Research. Among corporations seeking Stanford services were Wells Fargo Bank, Bechtel Corp., Hewlett-Packard, Bank of America, McDonnell Douglas Corporation, Blythe Eastman and Dillon Co., and TRW Company. Stanford Research is plugged into at least 200 smaller think tanks doing research into every facet of life in America. This was known as DARPA networking and represented the emergence of probably the most far-reaching effort to control the environment of every individual in the country. DARPA gained a D when it was renamed the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or better known as DARPA, in 1972. Side note, DARPA also helped create the C-19 vaccine. Interesting. One of Stanford's most secret projects was extensive work on chemical and bacteriological warfare, known as CAB weapons. At present, Stanford computers are linked with 2,500 sister research consoles, which include the CIA, Bell Telephone Laboratories, U.S. Army Intelligence, the Office of Naval Intelligence, RAND, MIT, Harvard, and UCLA. Stanford plays a key role in that. It is the library cataloging all DARPA documentation. Other agencies, and one can use one's imagination here, are allowed to search through SRI library for keywords, phrases, look through sources, and update their own master files with those of Stanford Research Center. The Pentagon, for instance, uses SRI's master files extensively, and there is little doubt that the U.S. government agencies do the same. The Pentagon's command and controls problems are worked out by Stanford Research Institute. Now, this is just a brief synopsis to demonstrate what these institutions' sole purpose is: to control by manipulation. Which brings me back to the weaponization of language and why I care so much. I get it. We want to live in an equal and just world, but unfortunately for us, we live in a very corrupt society that has never and will never care about the individual. However, our controllers will use something called addoxography to manipulate society into achieving their end goal. Now, addoxography is defined as an elegant or refined writing that addresses a trivial or base subject. A perfect example of this is the Big is Beautiful movement and the transgender ideology being pushed on children. They both promote the destruction of the body, which in turn benefits the medical industrial complex, big pharma, and the depopulation agenda. Yet it's packaged and marketed to society as inclusivity, beautiful, progressive. MAPS, which is minor attractive persons, is another form of addoxography, taking an abhorrent act against children and manipulating it so that society sympathizes with the adult and finds the beauty in being attracted to minors. Now, on the flip side, you have words that are being used to demonize individuals, even though the structure in which the word is being used is completely false. For instance, if a man embraces his masculinity, he's now exhibiting toxic masculine behaviors. This is yet another method of social control. Demonize masculine men, which is one of the most important weapons we have against complete enslavement and tyranny. Real masculine men. Thus, they must be demonized and eliminated. Another example, the term white supremacist or far-right extremist and even Christianity are terms being used to demonize political opposition. We've seen over the last few months violent acts being committed by Blacks, Asians, Middle Eastern individuals, but somehow they are all white supremacists or white supremacist sympathizers. Not once have they looked at the root issue or why these crimes were committed, just chalking it up to white supremacy. Another very interesting tragedy was the transgender kid who killed a group of children at his Christian school. The media portrayed the shooter as the victim and blamed Christianity for his actions. Our controllers use subverting language in order to get what they want, or as Leather Apron Club calls them, thesaurus arguments. By the way, I highly recommend you guys check out his channel. Very articulate, well-researched material, Leather Apron Club. Like he says, imagine someone who is ignorant to the details of communism, yet is still superficially opposed to the idea. This person may be more open to the idea of collectivism or meritocratic distribution. The ignorant are susceptible to thesaurus arguments because their lack of understanding means they oppose only the word, not the idea the words are supposed to represent. This ignorance allows politicians and media pundits to get away with thesaurus arguments often. Now back to why I care so much. The reason I care is because I see how easily society can be manipulated by evil psychopaths into accepting their own slavery. Well, what do you mean by that, you may ask? Well, have you ever seen the movie Demolition Man? I highly suggest you do if you haven't. So these two villains were like frozen for 20 years. Then they were brought back to the new sanitized reality. And every time one of them said a cuss word or a bad word, they were fined. And these tickets would just like come out of thin air.
Gun, noun, portable firearm. This device was widely utilized in the urban wars of the late 20th century. Referred to as a pistol.
Look, I don't need a history lesson. Come on, Hal. Where the goddamn guns?
You are fined 1 credit for a violation of the verbal morality statute.
What? Fuck you.
Your repeated violation of the verbal morality statute has caused me to notify the San Angeles Police Department. Please remain where you are for your reprimand.
Yeah.
So how does this apply to us? Well, unless you've been living under a rock, you can see the rise in cancel culture, which I discussed earlier, and censorship across all platforms. Challenging ideas and concepts or questioning the narrative or authority of any kind for that matter is no longer acceptable. All of this to lube us up for the big one, which is the social credit score system and CBDC, central bank digital currency. In the very near future, when the big banks finish obliterating small banks and credit unions, you will have no other option but to use the Federal Reserve's central bank digital currency. And in order to receive this CBDC, you will be monitored, just like the Chinese social credit score system. Surveilled 24/7, internet usage monitored, language and behavior monitored, and if you step out of set parameters, your CBDC balance will be deducted for each infringement. Depending on the severity of the infringement, you won't have access to basic amenities, potentially even your home. So long story longer, this is why I care. Nothing today is as it seems. So it's up to us to dig a little deeper and not take things for face value. I highly suggest, if you are interested in this topic, to listen to Whitney Webb and Catherine Austin Fitts on Whitney Webb's Unlimited Hangout, or you can check out Catherine Austin Fitts' website at Solari.com. They go really in depth on this topic, a hell of a lot more than I'm saying here. I'm just scratching the surface, but if you're interested, check them out. And I will also link other pertinent information in the description box below. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you took away something from this video. And I love you all, and I wish you well. Okay, till next time.